Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. A couple of days ago I actually ranked from worst to best my favorites and least favorites of the Goosebumps SlappyWorld books. It seems like many of you guys really enjoyed that video and I want to thank you for your support, your love for the channel. You guys rock so hard. Anyway, I talked about how I was going to almost forget, but I actually remembered, I've just been busy the last couple of days with work and whatnot, that I wanted to rank the Goosebumps SlappyWorld book covers from Brandon Dorman, a great artist who really this time around I think really kicked off and did a great job. The majority of the time, I think most of the time when you see a rough Goosebumps cover from him, it's probably because of the kind of scholastic rulings and what they want as a company, kind of what they tell him he has to do, or maybe not many details on what he could do for the newest cover, which I'll get into in a moment, with my first pick at the very bottom of the list for a book that's actually good. First and foremost, thank you guys for watching. Second, SlappyWorld as a series, as I've said with my previous video, was very rough. But even if the books themselves typically always had a bad ending, and sometimes had bad concepts that led into rough books that really just kind of were mediocre at the end of the day, especially the last couple, I gotta tell you, the covers, a lot of the time, really made up for those bad books. They really did. They really just lightened up your bookshelf a little bit with all the covers and whatnot. The spines of the things are even nice. But let me tell you this too, as I did in my previous video also when I ranked the books, I'm not just going to do the 19 books called SlappyWorld, I'm also going to include Slappy Beware, which came out in the midst of these in the last year or so. I think it came out last year at the end of the year, maybe September or something in 2022. But anyway, that will be included here just like it was in the previous ranking video from worst to best on content, because it's, to me, it counts. I don't really care what anybody else has to say. Slappy Beware counts to me. So that's 20 books I will be ranking from worst to best. And I have everything listed here in my handy-dandy digital notebook, like in Blue's Clues. So, moving along to the first pick at the very bottom of the list, and again, this is one that I think is a really good book. A really good book, recommendation from me. I talked about that in my previous video, but this one's cover is embarrassing. And I remember when it was first coming out, I thought it was cool. It wasn't the official artwork just yet, and then we started seeing more. And I gotta tell you, this one, it's a bad cover that does not represent a really solid read, a book that I do recommend from SlappyWorld. And that number 20, bottom of the list pick is They Call Me the Night Howler. This cover, man, it's really just floating eyeballs and floating hands. That's really all it is. And some, I guess, curtains, whatever these are supposed to be. That's all it is. And that's such a shame, too. This is such a good book. If you haven't read it, you should. It's really great. The next book here is one of the weak ones, too. One of the weaker books in this overall series, in my opinion, as I showed you in my previous video where I ranked the books. Number 19 is Please Do Not Feed the Weirdo. It's just a crate and a monster kicking, like, crawling out of it, busting out of it, bursting out of it, whatever you'd like to call that. He happens to be blue. This is not entirely perfectly representable for the book's story itself. The monster doesn't always seem to look like that from what I remember. Maybe I'm confusing it with another book from another series and era, I don't know. But I don't think I am, from what I remember of this one. Not my favorite cover. Really just, it's not. It reminds me of Tales from the Dark Side, which I love quite a bit, or maybe Creepshow. It reminds me a little bit of both. Both are kind of similar anyway because of George Romero, but still, not my favorite. Not my favorite. And the next one's not much better. I kind of just had a struggle on which one I liked more. I like the mystique of this one. That's why it managed to hit my number 18 pick, which is Escape from Shutter Mansion. It's really just a silhouette behind a door. Or a window. I'm assuming that's a door. But that's kind of a pathetic cover, just some kind of monster peeking at you. It's not great. It's not great. This is not one of the standouts from Mr. Brandon Dorman. He had many other hits throughout these SlappyWorld books. Great example, some of the earlier in my list. The top 5, for example, I think are fantastic pretty much. This one, it ain't great. The book is okay, but the cover, no. It deserved better. Coming in at number 17 is Fright Night. A cool title for a movie representation, a reference from back in the day, from the 80s, for a movie that I love deeply. It's a vampire movie. The book wasn't great. The cover ain't great either. It's not. The last one of the entire SlappyWorld series before it ended a couple months back, but it was a kind of a letdown, as I said in my review. A lot of people really liked that one in the comments. I was surprised by how much support and love I saw for that book, which I did not give a favorable review for. It kind of reminded me of back in the old days, earlier on in my channel, my first, like, 5 or 10 videos. One of them was a review for Nightmare on Clown Street, which I did not like for the most part. After like the second half of the book, I was like, nah, that's a bad book. But people were correcting me in the comments section about it. Anyway, moving along to number 16 on my list, that is Attack of the Jack, probably the worst of the entire SlappyWorld series when it comes to the actual book itself. The cover ain't bad. I was excited to read this. It is number 2 in the series, so you basically had Slappy Birthday to You when it came out, then you had this, and I was hoping for a better book. And it had some concept stuff that sounded kind of okay. Then I delved into the book and I was like, oh no. But the detailing on the pirate here is pretty nice. I dig it. But it ain't the greatest ever. It's not on like a Tim Jacobus level. You know, like I feel like if Jacobus had done these SlappyWorld covers, they'd be even scarier. They'd be even more unique and stand out, even for books like Please Don't Feed the Weirdo. But Attack of the Jack, can you imagine what that cover would have looked like from Tim Jacobus' art style? I can only imagine. Moving along to my number 15 pick. This one is more detailed. I like the snow on it, which is probably a dead hint on what it is. Number 15 is Judy and the Beast. The cover with the monster, the beast itself, it's pretty nice. Like the snow, little snowballs and trashing and stuff. It's okay. It's not a great book. The cover's okay. I dig it. I don't remember anything about this book, just so you know. I had to do a very small quick glance through the book and look at my old review before I made a video ranking them previously, because I wanted to be sure that I was sure on what I thought of that book. And a couple of days later, after I filmed that previous ranking video, that has completely left my brain. But the cover's okay. The cover's got some detailing. I like it. Alright, moving on to number 14. This is one that I actually think start to get into the good covers. From this point on, I think pretty much everything is pretty solid. So almost 15 covers out of the 20 are impressive to me. This is a sequel book, sort of. Not really a direct sequel, but a sequel to something we've had in the previous, many years ago, 1990s past. That, it's nice. I kind of like seeing this idea come back, and I don't hate the book at all, but I love the cover quite a bit. It's pretty nice. It's a cool one. It's got some things that really make it work for me. That number, what did I say, 14? I rambled too much. Sorry. My number 14 pick is Revenge of the Invisible Boy. The thing that brings this awesome pink and purple lockers and background cover together to me is the invisible kid with the invisible hand right here, but the handprint touching the thing, but the smiley face, or the frowny face, excuse me. The frowny face really brings that cover together for me. It adds this weird, unique humor to this cover that just works. I don't know what it is. It's the hues of color. It's the frowny face. It just works. It feels very Jacobus in a really cool way. Very nice, Brandon. Very nice. I'm glad this time around with this video and the previous videos when I've talked about the covers of these books as I reviewed the actual books individually, I'm glad that I got to talk about how Brandon Dorman has improved so much as an artist. The Horrorland covers were so bad. Most of them, majority of them, I think were really bad. And then you had like the Most Wanted series that he did, that I think he improved quite a bit from the Horrorland era, which I blame Scholastic more on the Horrorland stuff than I blame Brandon Dorman. He clearly has talent. But watching him advance into Most Wanted and then go to SlappyWorld is fantastic. The dude's art style for these have just improved so drastically. It's great, man. I think he did the cover for this one as well. This is a number 13 pick on my list. Pretty sure he was involved with this, even though it's a hardcover. I probably gave it away. That is Slappy Beware. What I love about this cover that I forgot to mention in my reviews, my video, my previous ranking video, all of that stuff, was the fact that Slappy Beware's cover here is clearly a Brandon Dorman version of his version of Slappy, obviously, with the modern-day Scholastic 2015 movie version, Haunted Halloween version of Slappy. It clearly is a throwback to the original Jacobus cover, and I never realized that. Think about it. Like, what if I turn it sideways? Do you see it yet? Do you see it yet? Kind of. The book cover is kind of just a floating head cover like we all complain about on movie posters nowadays, or at least in the last 10 years we used to, but it's not the greatest cover ever. I like it more than The Invisible Boy. I do, because it's Slappy, and I like the throwback that I hadn't noticed until recently, but that's kind of nice. I dig that, it's cool. But outside of that, as a throwback, it's okay. It's cool, I like it. Alright, number 12 on my list. This one might surprise you that it's above a Slappy book, because I'm a huge Slappy lover and obsessor. This number 12 pick is going to be Monster Blood is Back. I love it. I love it. It's Monster Blood, and he has some little cooking outfits on, like the little chef's hat up here and stuff. I love it. I love the pink, I love the green, very 1990s throwback style. Reminds me of like a Nickelodeon type of thing, I don't really know, but I love it. Very 1990s, as I said, it works. It works really well. I think this is one of the best Dorman covers out there, man, ever. Ever. Horrorland Most Wanted, any of it. This is, from this point on, some of his best work ever. Not a big Monster Blood guy. 2, 3, and 4 are my favorites of the series. 1 and this one, really weak. Really weak. This is what, the 6th book, I think? There's like a... Isn't there a Horrorland monster book? Or Monster Blood book? I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I don't remember what that one's called. Monster Blood for Breakfast or something? I don't know. It's horrible. But Monster Blood is back was a nice return of Monster Blood. It was cool to see that. We didn't have many throwbacks in this era of Goosebumps, aside from Slappy, obviously. But an Invisible Boy. But this was nice as a standout. I like this cover quite a bit. I like the detailings, I like the chef hat. Being a big fan of Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, this was cool. I like this whole concept of reality TV for the book, and the cover made it work even better. Really nice. Alright, moving on to... What is the next one? Number 11 on my list. We're almost in the top 10. My number 11 pick here is Night of the Squawker. I told you when I reviewed it, I was really excited about how beautiful the fire and orange and all that is on this cover. I like the chains here. I like the little sign over here about it being an experiment. I like the crazy, psychotic Tim Jacobus bird here. Brandon Dorman really knocked it out of the park on this book cover for a book that has orange on the cover, which we haven't seen really too commonly in a long time. A long time in Goosebumps. And this looks really cool. I like it. For a book that's kind of mediocre, I like the cover. It looks cool. Really nice design. Really, really nice design. I can't tell if that's supposed to be like blood coming off the top of the bird's head or not. Did he get shot? I don't know. Oh well. Top 10. Top 10. Let me take a taste of drink before I get into that. Alright. Moving on to number 10. My number 10 pick is for a book that I love deeply. One of my favorite Goosebumps books of all time, especially in the modern era. Let's say, even though I've been reviewing these over the last 4 years, let's say in the last 10, all the way back to 2013, this might be my next favorite behind my obvious Wanted the Haunted Mask in the most modern eras of Goosebumps. I think it's fantastic. That book is a great book, but the cover is not the best of the SlappyWorld covers. It's just not. It's a phenomenal read, but cover's okay for what it is. I like it. That number 10 pick is It's Alive, It's Alive. I love the pink. I love the kind of fade into purple down here from back there. And I love the robot. It's a great book. Phenomenal book, actually. I think it's one of the best, one of the only ones with a satisfying ending in the SlappyWorld series. As I said in my review, this is pretty much my number 1 of all of the books in this particular ranking in the previous book series, or book video, whatever. But this was so good. This is such a good book. The cover's just not the best, though. It's cool. I like it a lot. I really, really do. I like the Frankenstein throwback. But it reminds me of AI, Artificial Intelligence, the movie that came out in like the 90s, early 2000s. That scared me to death. Stanley Kubrick made it. He died in the middle of making it. It scared me to death. It's probably the beginnings, alongside of Chuck E. Cheese, of my fear of animatronics. And this robot really, in this book, really, in general, really preys on that fear, frankly. Cool cover, though. Alright, number 9. Yeah, number 9 on my list. This one is the first one of the whole series, Slappy Birthday to You. I like the cover. It's pretty nice. I remember when I first had my back injury and found out SlappyWorld was a thing when I started getting back into Goosebumps. And I saw this cover and I was surprised. We have a whole Slappy-focused era around Goosebumps, which is really cool because I'm a big Slappy guy. I had all the books at the time until I realized this existed. Then I got it, and I like the book. It's cool. The cover's nice of Slappy bursting out of a present. That's kind of cool. The book has some good moments involving stuff like that. It's cute. I like it. It was the beginning of seeing Slappy in the modern era, this book cover style, with this art style of him from the 2015 movie. And I wasn't used to it at first. But the more I saw of it, the more I didn't hate it. The more I watched the 2015 movie, even from release, I really liked it. So it was kind of cool. I dig it. Then we got number 8 here. Let's see. Yeah, I moved it down to number 8. I kind of had this one hurt like a little bit higher before, and I ended up moving it down just a little bit because it's kind of a goofy cover, but I do like it. It does involve my boy Slappy. That number 8 pick is I Am Slappy's Evil Twin. I love the green. I love Slappy. I love his brother, his new brother, over there. For this, I think this was what, book 3? Yeah, book 3 of the series. This was fun. I really like the concept of the book and everything, but the cover itself, really cute, really goofy with the, almost like the TV show Friends type of cover. Like one person jumping up at the other one, scaring the other person. Maybe Slappy is embarrassed of his brother who's kind of goofy in here. I love that. Really nice cover. Really, really nice. My number 7 pick also happens to be a Slappy book. That is My Friend Slappy. This is a very weird cover. I don't know what exactly it is that I like so much about it. It might be the blue, it might be the Slappy wearing an orange and white shirt over top of his shirt. My friend Slappy, he just has this ominous look. He reminds me of Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining. I have a lot of Kubrick references in this video, but I really like that cover. I like it more than Evil Twin. It's less silly, less goofy, if you will. But it just works. It's just perfect as it is. I don't know why, you know? Alright, number 6 on my list. We're almost in the top 5, dude. Number 6 is one that was originally my number 3, and I moved it down further today after I reconsidered my list over the last couple of days, and that is Slappy in Dreamland. This cover would have terrified me as a child. It would have. And I love it. I loved it so much it was almost at number 3. But the more I thought about it, the more I liked the artistry of the other covers more. I think they're better. I think they have more effort put into them. This is a really good, clearly effort-focused cover. It's nice. Slappy crawling out of that bed is creepy. And I also like, too, over here on the bed, I thought it said Slappy was here. No, it says Slappy is here. That's great. Good book. Rough ending, but a good book, good concepts, kind of a Freddy Krueger aspect, Nightmare on Elm Street type of aspect for this book. That cover fits. I really dig it. Alright, top 5. Top 5. You ready for this? I want you to take a second while I take more drink in, and I want you to think about what you think my top 5 will be out of the last remaining books. It's going to be interesting. I'm curious what you guys will think about it on your list. I'd love to see you rank it down in the comment section down below by the end of the video. That'd be cool. Looks like it's going to rain outside. That's why I keep looking over there. It hasn't started yet, but it looks like it. Anyway, number 5 on my list is one that involves 2 monsters that I love quite a bit. Probably gave it away. That is The Dummy Meets the Mummy. Man, I love it. The green mist in the background, Slappy and the Mummy. This new Mummy design is really cool. Not as cool as the old Mummy from the 90s on the old original series. Or even like the Mummy Walks cover from Series 2000, but I just really like him, and I like the book too. But him and Slappy having a showdown, like they do in the book, really cool here. But the cover being green, it's just nice. And again, it brings back this 1990s love that I think many of us had. It's just really fitting for it, I think. Very nice. My number 4 pick here is one that I keep talking about all the time. It's clearly a throwback to a movie that I love deeply, and kind of a book, I guess, too, and an original movie from back in the day, but mainly the 80s remake of a movie, The Haunting with the Stars. You look at that and tell me that's not the Thing. You tell me that's not the Thing. Every time you see the cover of the Thing on like Amazon Prime or Tubi or wherever you're watching it at, this is what it looks like every time I see it. Every time I see this cover, I think about that, but I love the planet in the background. I love this space helmet, Buzz Lightyear helmet around these guys. Like the red rings on the planet, the blues, the white streaks, all of it, dude. The art is so good on this cover. It's so good. It's the best thing about this entire crappy book. This cover, man. Brandon Dorman. Excellent job, dude. Alright, top 3. We're in the top 3, dude. This one was hard for me. It really was. Because some are creepy, genuinely creepy. Some are book covers that would have scared me as a kid. Like the Slappy in Dreamland cover. But one of them is kind of silly, but I love it. I think it's fantastic. You're probably surprised that it's in my top 3. But I couldn't really map out my number 2 and my number 3 perfectly. Depending on the day that we're talking, if you meet me in person, I'll probably tell you that my number 3 is in my number 2 spot, actually. And vice versa with number 2 and number 3. But I finally settled on what I think I'm okay with. After a couple of days, like I said, of reconsiderations, thinking about it, moving things around, I think my number 3 is official on where I want it. But hopefully it doesn't move again. If you see me in person and you ask me about it, hopefully I don't change it around on you. Anyway, my number 3 pick is going to be 5th Grade Zombies. This cover, man, it had us all so excited. Everybody was talking about this cover and how cool it was when it was coming out. The eerie, noseless chick, the monkey bars, the two zombie kids, the bite out of this kid's arm over here. It just looks great. The green smoke, all of it. It just looks fantastic. Everybody was so excited about this book when it was being announced. When the cover was released, we were all talking about it in videos. And then the book came out. And everybody forgot about it because the book was so bad. It didn't represent zombie lore very well or zombie fans very well, and the book itself, it has a great cover. That's about it. Again, Brandon Dorman, folks, coming in to save the day this time around in the SlappyWorld era of Goosebumps, which is sad. It's sad. All right, number two. You might be surprised that this made it in the top 3, as I said a moment ago. But this one, I love it. Yeah, it's very 1990s. Yeah, it reminds me of Nickelodeon. It reminds me of Goosebumps in a great way. I think it's a fantastic little cover here. That number 2 is Diary of a Dummy. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's red, it's green slime, a skull slime here, keep out. It has Slappy on it. What else could you want? It's just freaking fantastic, dude. It's so fantastic. I think it just... There's something about how everything comes together on a color scale with the green, the red, Slappy, all of it. The yellow book cover, all of that stuff works so well for this cover. It's just amazing. I adore it. I adore it. There are some times that I just pull this book out as a really good book on top of that. I just pull it off the shelf and stare at it because I just love the cover so much, man. And I do the exact same thing with my number 1 pick. Probably one of my favorite covers ever on Goosebumps. And that is The Ghost of Slappy. Man, oh man. When I got back into SlappyWorld, I'm pretty sure this was about to come out when I was having my back injury. I'm pretty sure this was about to come out in a couple of months after I was starting to heal up and everything. And I remember seeing this cover announced and just being absolutely chilled to the bone with how creepy it is, dude. Look at his eyes. Look at his eyes, dude. The idea of Slappy being a ghost this time was a cool idea, and it's utilized okay in the book. And I talked about that a little bit in my previous video, spoiler-free also, in case you care. But this cover, man, it is easily probably the best Brandon Dorman cover I've ever seen in my life. I think it just kills, man. It's so freaking good. The blues, the whites, the ghostly image, it just feels like such a Goosebumps classic to me. I think it's one of the best covers ever done in Goosebumps. If I ever have a day, God willing, that I can rank every single Goosebumps cover ever, if that day comes along, dude, this cover will be up there. It'll be probably in my top 10. I think that just the use of the colors, the use of the style, it's just incredible. It's one of the best ever from anybody who's illustrated Goosebumps covers, in my personal opinion. Anyway, with that being said, that is the ranking of the Goosebumps SlappyWorld covers. What did you think about it? Again, did you guess my top 3, my top 5, my top 10? What did you organize those as? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you'd rank out those covers. And again, if you happen to have read all of the books, I'd love to hear your thoughts on my other video about the ranking of them from the content of the books themselves, worst to best. And that's all I have to say, really. I hope you guys had a great time with this cover ranking video. And I guess at some point, I kind of had another video idea I want to do here soon about ranking the actual covers, not the covers, but actually the quality of the books themselves. Like, for example, amongst the series, like, how would I rank Series 2000, the OGs, Horrorland, Most Wanted? Now that I've read all of them, House of Shivers just started, so I don't really think it's fair to include that in this video that I'm thinking of. But hopefully I can do that here soon. I have a couple of other ideas that I want to do inspired by some friends of mine here in the community. But anyway, really excited about a lot of content I have coming up. We're almost in October, I think, what, in a couple of days? Like Monday? Yeah, today's the 30th, that's crazy. 2023 is almost over. Anyway, Goosebumps SlappyWorld. Have you read them? What do you think about them? What do you think about your covers here? Rank all those down in the comment section down below. Let me know everything you think about my video, your thoughts on the covers, all that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble for so long. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Goodbye.